Okay. Yes, so on this retreat, I'm planning to um, give Dharma talks based on Tao Te Ching, the classic book of from China. That literally means like a classic or book of way and virtue. And this, um, like an English translation, it's titled English version by Stephen Mitchell. And it's not a translation because it's not a literal translation from the uh, the Chinese characters. He made his own version. Well, I'll read it to you. I think he says it here. As to the method of translation, Stephen Mitchell says himself, I also consulted dozens of translations into English, German and French, but the most essential preparation for my work was the 14-year-long course of Zen training, which brought me face to face with Lao Tzu and his true disciples and heirs, the early Chinese Zen masters. So I think that Stephen Mitchell's English version or English rendition is like a really superior to all other English versions, translations I've seen on the Tao Te Ching, exactly because he knows from his own experience what Lao Tzu is pointing to. Usually, I'll just mention briefly that usually the English renditions and the Finnish renditions are really horrible and difficult to understand when they are like a verbatim translated, like literally, because it doesn't really work that way. The Chinese language is well, maybe I shouldn't talk about things that linguists, you know, specialists should say, but Chinese language just doesn't work that way that you can, especially the old poems and classics, that you can make a literal translation of it, because it doesn't make sense and it's terrible to read. So I'll just get on with it. I'll read it. I translated Tao Te Ching into Finnish 5 years ago from this book, and I wrote a commentary to it, like maybe a third of these short chapters, but it's been sitting on my computer since. But maybe this uh, incident puts that project into motion again. So chapter 1. So Tao means like is translated as the way or principle. So because he's using the word Tao, he hasn't translated that word. Chapter 1. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The unnameable is the eternally real. Naming is the origin of all particular things. Free from desire, you realize the mystery. Caught in desire, you see only the manifestations. Yet mystery and manifestations arise from the same source. This source is called darkness. Darkness within darkness, the gateway to all understanding. When people see some things as beautiful, other things become ugly. When people see some things as good, other things become bad. Being and non-being create each other. Difficult and easy support each other. Long and short define each other. High and low depend on each other. Before and after follow each other. Therefore, the master acts without doing anything and teaches without saying anything. Things arise and she lets them go. Things disappear and she lets them go. She has but doesn't possess, acts but doesn't expect. When her work is done, she forgets it. That is why it lasts forever. If you overesteem great men, people become powerless. If you overvalue possessions, people begin to steal. The master leads by emptying people's minds and filling their cores, by weakening their ambition and toughening their resolve. He helps people lose everything they know, everything they desire, and creates confusion in those who think that they know. Practice not doing and everything will fall into place. The Tao is like a well, used but never used up. It is like the eternal void, filled with infinite possibilities. It is hidden but always present. I don't know who gave birth to it. It is older than God. The Tao doesn't take sides. It gives birth to both good and evil. The Master doesn't take sides. She welcomes both saints and sinners. The Tao is like a bellows. It is empty, yet infinitely capable. The more you use it, the more it produces. The more you talk of it, the less you understand. Hold on to the center. The Tao is called the Great Mother, empty yet inexhaustible. It gives birth to infinite worlds. It is always present within you. You can use it any way you want. The Tao is infinite, eternal. Why is it eternal? It was never born, thus it can never die. Why is it infinite? It has no desires for itself, thus it is present for all beings. The Master stays behind, that is why she is ahead. She is detached from all things, that is why she is one with them. Because she has let go of herself, she is perfectly fulfilled. Yeah, maybe that was seven pages. It's nice that he has chosen like a she. That's a female. What?
Feminine.
Feminine,
Yeah.
for the master instead of masculine.
Masculine.
Masculine. Yeah, it's really nice, and that she also he in chapter 6 he says that the Tao is called the Great Mother. Nice. Basic things, really, isn't it? The book talks about the ultimate principle and the relative principle and the meeting of those two. It speaks of duality and people's minds getting caught in it, and it talks about the master who is beyond these dualities, and therefore master, or a person of realization can move, act, and do freely, go freely. The supreme good is like water, which nourishes all things without trying to. It is content with the low places that people disdain. Thus it is like the Tao. In dwelling, live close to the ground. In thinking, keep to the simple. In conflict, be fair and generous. In governing, don't try to control. In work, do what you enjoy. In family life, be completely present. When you are content to be simply yourself and don't compare or compete, everyone will respect you. Fill your bowl to the brim and it will spill. Keep sharpening your knife and it will blunt. Chase after money and security and your heart will never unclench. Care about people's approval and you will be their prisoner. Do your work, then step back. The only path to serenity. Can you coax your mind from its wandering and keep to the original oneness? Can you let your body become supple as a newborn child's? Can you cleanse your inner vision until you see nothing but the light? Can you love people and lead them without imposing your will? Can you deal with the most vital matters by letting events take their course? Can you step back from your own mind and thus understand all things? Giving birth and nourishing, having without possessing, acting with no expectations, leading and not trying to control, this is the supreme virtue. That was chapter 10. What do I have to add to that, you know? Anybody has a deck of cards? I really like this style because even with the poor translations, you gotta love this kind of expression because it's so down to earth and it's so simple, and that's the charm of it, you know. It has kind of this special attraction to it. And there was a line I think it was in chapter 9, 8, 9 or 10, that said that in conflict, in thinking, keep to the simple. In conflict, be fair and generous. In governing, don't try to control. In work, do what you enjoy. In family life, be completely present. Common sense, really, isn't it? But the book speaks of the master being in harmony with the situations, whether something happens or something or is not happening, nothing is happening at all. But this is kind of wouldn't it be wonderful to be you, yourself, not somebody else, and be able to be in harmony and like content, peaceful, clear-minded, fair and generous, not trying to control, and completely present in the everyday life circumstances, whatever they are in your life. Imagine that, you know. Like imagine being yourself, living your life, doing the things you do, being with the people who you are with, and just being completely present. Not distracted, not I don't know the English word, not getting confused in any way, not losing it. Not getting clouded. At all. What else would we need, really? Because when our mind gets clouded and we try to control things, we try to get things because of the selfing, that's what creates in Buddhist terms suffering that keeps us in the loop, keeps us in the cycle of samsaric mind states, right? But if that wasn't there, think about yesterday, what you did yesterday from the morning when you woke up, what you did during daytime. Some of us were traveling yesterday, and then we arrived here. We're going to sauna and swimming in the stream, eating. Imagine that period of time, just your mind being completely clear. Not a single thought of control or impulse or compulsive thought or anger or frustration. Even though I'm sure that yesterday, like none of us probably doesn't have a bad dark night now, but even though it was like a normal day, quite easy and calm day. Imagine being the whole day in plain awareness, naked awareness. And when sleeping, resting in the natural state. If we were able to, and of course eventually we will be, but if we were in that situation that the mind wouldn't bubble at all, can you imagine that you would have a desire or need for something greater or bigger, or would you? Would you have? In the most fundamental sense. Of course, if you were, we are in northern Norway now, so, and it's quite cold even though it's sunny, so if you didn't have your pants on, it would get cold, so you would have to find pants. But in the most fundamental sense, if you were satisfied and clear-minded at all times, how would it be? You would not have to do something to recognize naked awareness, because you would always be in that. Chapter 11. I think I'm done with the whole book by the end of this talk. Because it's a small book. And I don't have much to say. Okay. We join spokes together in a wheel, but it is the center hole that makes the wagon move. We shape clay into a pot, but it is the emptiness inside that holds whatever we want. We hammer wood for a house, but it is the inner space that makes it livable. We work with being, but non-being is what we use. Colors blind the eye, sounds deafen the ear, flavors numb the taste, thoughts weaken the mind, desires wither the heart. The master observes the world but trusts his inner vision. He allows things to come and go. His heart is open as the sky. Success is as dangerous as failure. Hope is as hollow as fear. What does it mean that success is as dangerous as failure? Whether you go up the ladder or down it, your position is shaky. When you stand with your 2 feet on the ground, you will always keep your balance. What does it mean that hope is as hollow as fear? Hope and fear are both phantoms that arise from thinking of the self. When we don't see the self as self, what do we have to fear? See the world as yourself. Have faith in the way things are. Love the world as yourself. Then you can care for all things. when we don't see the self as self, what do we have to fear? See the world as yourself. Have faith in the way things are. Love the world as yourself, then you can care for all things. Really, really profound things here. Hope and fear. Hope and fear are discussed in, I think, in one of the, maybe it is the Mahamudra teachings traditionally have four stages, main stages, and I think it's the third one that speaks about, the third one that is called One Taste, that speaks of hope and fear and getting rid of both of them. See the world as yourself. Have faith in the way things are. So it speaks about seeing the world as ourselves, and at the same time, when we don't see the self as self, what do we have to fear? So it's talking about selflessness, emptiness, knowing ourselves to be not self, you know, and then seeing the world, see the world as yourself. Because what else is there then? If you don't have your own investments in your mind, if you are actually living in that clarity all the time, you don't have those hooks and investments and hidden motives. So what else do you see than the world? If you're not preoccupied with the stuff in your mind, you automatically are just present with whatever is happening with other people, with other beings, the circumstances. Whether they are physical circumstances and physical people or beings, or non-physical ones. I think it's mentioned somewhere in the Buddhist scriptures, some of the suttas, so-called suttas, the early Buddhist scriptures, where it was said that Shakyamuni Buddha, after he had taught a long day his students, monks and people who were there, hopefully women as well, not only monks, that he then, when the monks went to sleep late in the evening, he continued teaching non-physical beings and did that for a few hours and then lied down for a short while before waking up early in the morning. So there you have it. Meeting, sharing, caring, spreading the Dharma, spreading the good news. Have faith in the way things are. This is a tricky sentence because, well, if you're not mature in your practice, if your mind is not clear, then you need supports, different kinds of supports. You know, like old people have canes, walking canes. In a similar way, us people of mind training, we need supports of different practices, different actions that help us sort out the stuff. And faith is one of those handy canes, walking canes. Do you say walking canes or just canes?
Walking cane.
Walking cane.
Sticks.
Walking sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but have faith in the way things are. So, like, of course, if for example somebody starts practicing open heart teachings, um, the main idea is that through practice one gets experiences, and through experiences you gain understanding, right? That's the main idea of all yogic paths, right? If we had practices and didn't do them, or just read books, we wouldn't have experiences. And if we don't have experiences, we couldn't gain understanding, first-hand experiential understanding. In yogic paths, there is no other kind of understanding that is of value. You know, anybody can buy many books and read them, but conceptual understanding is of no value whatsoever without actual experiences. And I would even go as far to say that if you have a lot of experiences, but your conceptual understanding is not exactly right, this is something that Buddhists always give slaps for the Hindus, because Hindus have quite a bit of vague points and, you know, mistakes here and there in their conceptual view. But there are Mahasiddhas in Hinduism as well. So I would go as far to say that if you have a lot of experiences, it forgives little mistakes in the view. Hardcore Buddhists will never admit that. Love the world as yourself. Then you can care for all things. Yeah, I was meaning to say about the faith that faith is very handy. You know, faith, what does it mean? Taking things on faith and having like a I'm exaggerating a little bit, but having like blind faith, blind trust to something while you are working on a hypothesis until you know for sure that something is true and right and real. And when you get to that point of that recognition, then you have no use for faith anymore. You can toss the faith, right? So actually this sentence, have faith in the way things are. If you know the way how things are, you no longer have need for faith. Chapter 14. Look and it can be seen. Listen and look and it can't be seen. Listen and it can't be heard. Reach and it can't be grasped. Above it isn't bright. Below it isn't dark. Seamless, unnameable, it returns to the realm of nothing. form that includes all forms, image without an image, subtle beyond all conception. Approach it and there is no beginning, follow it and there is no end. You can't know it, but you can be it, at ease in your own life. Just realize where you come from. This is the essence of wisdom. The ancient masters were profound and subtle. Their wisdom was unfathomable. There is no way to describe it. All we can describe is their appearance. They were careful as someone crossing an iced-over stream, alert as a warrior in enemy territory, courteous as a guest, fluid as melting ice, shapeable as a block of wood, receptive as a valley, clear as a glass of water. Do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles and the water is clear? Can you remain unmoving till the right action arises by itself? The master doesn't seek fulfillment. Not seeking, not expecting, she is present and can welcome all things. Really nice. Again, careful as someone crossing an ice-over stream, alert as a warrior, courteous. How do you understand? How do you pronounce it?
You got it, courteous.
Courteous as a guest, fluid, shapeable, receptive, clear as a glass. I mentioned something yesterday in my opening speech of the retreat that like a hinted to different kinds of expressions of compassion, that they can be gentle expression, but they can be fierce expression. And this gives a whole bunch of descriptions. You know, careful, alert, courteous, fluid, shapeable, receptive, clear as a glass. So according to the situation, it is very, very often the case that, oh, I have a good story about this. It's very often the case that when somebody has studied Buddhism or some other ism, they form an ideal image in their mind of somebody who is a highly attained person or a Buddha. People start to think that a Buddha is somebody who's always with a gentle smile, always with this voice, always like this. Yeah, it's really scary. But yeah, well, I wouldn't want to hang out with such a person. Yeah, but people do really build images like that of someone, you know, projecting outwards this dream image, and then using this imagined image as a proof. When somebody isn't acting like that, they use it as a proof to disvalidate, discredit such expression. I think that like if you think of the most famous masters of Tibetan Buddhism during the last 30, 40 years, 50 years, when Tibetan Buddhism has been taught in the West, like Dilgo Khyentse, Duchom Rinpoche, and others, Chatral Rinpoche and so on, Tulku Urgyen. I don't think that, or it's my understanding that not many people, students, were really close to them, that they really spent time with them and knew them on a personal level. So it is often still today the case that, well, when somebody like Karmapa, for example, gives teachings, there is thousands of people present. But there aren't probably but a handful or little more people who actually do things with him on daily basis, who really know him on a personal level, not only the guy who's 30 meters away sitting on a throne, always speaking wise things. You know, American, he's sort of a bit of a legend in Japanese martial arts, especially ninjutsu. Stephen K. Hayes. He was a bodyguard of the Dalai Lama. He told this story in his TED Talk. You can find it at YouTube. So he was the bodyguard of a Dalai Lama, and they were in some hotel, and Dalai Lama was having a meeting with some government members of, Tibetans in exile, the exile government, politics. And this bodyguard, he was outside the door, like somewhere in a separate room. It was a big hotel suite. Yeah. But then he heard that somebody shouting there. Where did the shout come from? And then he kind of went into the hotel suite, checking around, and then he saw from all the way to the other end of this hotel apartment how Dalai Lama was like some distance there, and he was really like shouting these guys, really angry, using strong voice and language to these guys that, I don't know if he used swear words, but something like that. And Stephen K. Hayes was, what? Because Dalai Lama, he's always like this happy, jolly, gentle, peaceful bodhisattva. So there you have it. Even the Dalai Lama sometimes raises his voice. The master doesn't seek fulfillment. Not seeking, not expecting, she is present and can welcome all things. Not seeking fulfillment. Not expecting anything to happen. Well, you heard that before, haven't you? Imagine, again, being like that all the time. Let's sit a little. let's sit so that we don't have to imagine. Feel your body, feel the breath in the body. May all beings be free of ignorance, of suffering, of confusion. Bring your palms together.